Hello, it's me, Robin, with Simple Food, Simple Life. You know what day it is? It's Friday, November the 7th, 2025. And today is Friday Confab. Yes! It's actually my favorite YouTube day of the week, because I get to sit here at the kitchen table like a lady of leisure and talk to all of you. That's pretty exciting. Well, it's exciting for me anyway. Got your coffee? Got your tea? Got your Coca-Cola? Oh, I have my coffee. And I just poured it, so it's very hot. Oh, so good. My hands get cold. Do you guys have any issue with cold hands? I know. Cold hands, warm heart. But do you ever feel like sometimes my hands get cold, and then when they get cold, they hurt. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know. But then I have to warm them up. Sometimes I just rub them and warm them up. And I don't know, is it an arthritic thing? And what is it? Cold hands. They don't turn blue or, funny color or anything. They're just cold. They just get cold. So I don't know what causes that. If you know, you tell me, because you guys are smart. You know stuff. You all know stuff. I know you know stuff because I read it in your comments. Oh, feels good. It is a bright, sunny day today. It's kind of windy, but it's cold. Well, it feels cold to me. That wind, there's a sharpness in the wind. So I got to ask you guys, what do you think the winter is going to be like? Now, I'm in Iowa, okay? And so, we have the 4 seasons, of course. But last winter was very strange. We didn't have lots of snow. So consequently, I have a lot of salt left for ice melt, for salt. I have a lot of that left. I've got like a couple of bags left in my garage. And then there's even some left in the bucket that I keep it in. But I don't know. I have a feeling that maybe the weather is going to be similar to the way it was last year. We had cold. We had some really cold days, some bitter days. But I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a strange winter. I'm not a weather person, so I don't know. But sometimes, you get this feeling, and so I don't know. Since the beginning of 2025, I felt like that 2025 was going to be, I can't explain it, was going to be a pivotal year, that some changes were going to take place in 2025 that would be pivotal. In other words, I mean that it would change the course of things. Is that weird of me? Am I delusional? I don't know. But it still feels like that, and we're coming towards the end of 2025. It still feels that way to me. So, I don't know. I just don't know. And I know you can chalk it up to the imaginings of an old lady. That's okay. I'm an old lady. And that's fine. I accept that. So, I don't know. But you know what? Maybe I'm not supposed to know. I just know that I can't really define it. I've tried, but I can't. So, I don't know. If that's weird of me, or if some of you have felt the same way, let me know. And then I'll know that I'm not totally, tilted. I don't know. So, I hope you're all doing great. And wherever you are in life, I hope that you are doing beautifully. Today, I wanted to read to you a viewer comment. I think her comment is important, and I want to read it to you, and I want to talk about it if it's okay with you. So, let me get to her comment. I was touched by it because I think that all of us can relate to this comment in some way. So I want to read it to you, and I don't think she will mind at all. The comment is by Melody Shukas, and it's Shukas, Melody. Isn't that a pretty name? And thank you, Melody, for this comment, by the way. This comment was made on last Friday's Confab, entitled Encouraging One Another, and then what I spent in October. So, Melody said this: "You made me smile for the first time in about 2 weeks with your hello. Thank you. The holidays are close, and I always kind of feel a sense of the blues. I guess, and that's I guess. Thank you for always being so kind. I love how joyful you always seem. Can you maybe do a video on staying joyful during times like we are in now? I'm sure I'm not alone in feeling like I do. Thank you. Have a very blessed week." To which I replied to Melody, "Thank you, Melody. I'm glad you are feeling a bit better. I understand completely your feelings during the holidays. Thank you for the suggestion. I'll definitely consider it. I confess I struggle as well. Your comment cheered me very much." And isn't that kind of what it is incumbent upon us to do? And that's just try to cheer each other up a bit. I know that a lot of you can relate to what Melody said in her comment, and because I certainly can. That's why I thought maybe we could talk about it today. Mostly between the months of September and through the new year, I have these same feelings and these same struggles. And I know why. I do. And I'll try to tell you in a shortened version of why I do. Some of you who've been with me for a while, you know that in 2008, my husband, Tim, passed away of esophageal cancer on Christmas morning. And prior to that, to go back to September of that year, he was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And he subsequently passed away at the age of 57. Some days it seems like it's been a very long time ago, and then other days it seems as though it was just yesterday. I know you guys can understand what I'm talking about. So in September, he was diagnosed, and we had signed, if you hear crunching, it's my kitty cat munching her dry food. We had signed a contract to have some work done on our home. We shared at that time when we lived in Illinois, and we had signed a contract to have some major things done to our home. We had all the windows replaced, new siding. It was gutters, downspouts. It was a major thing and a major expense for us. And we had signed that contract before he was diagnosed with the illness. It was for a considerable amount of money as well. And so we were in the middle, not really the middle, but in the beginnings of that. We had already signed the contract, and they had started just before his diagnosis. So we were going through that, and he was going to have chemo, but it was just for maintenance. It wasn't, they knew that he wasn't going to be cured, but it was just for maintenance and to give him more time. So we went through a lot. And then on December the 8th, he had a stroke. We were at home. He had a stroke, and that stroke took out his left side. It didn't affect his mind. He could still speak, but he could no longer walk or use his arm. And because of that, well, they ran tests and they said that that they suspected the chemo, which was quite harsh, that the chemotherapy caused his stroke. And because he had the stroke, he could no longer take chemo. And the chemo was just keeping the cancer from progressing so quickly. And because he could no longer take that, the cancer progressed very, very fast. And our time together during that time was, I always say, from his diagnosis until he passed, we had what we called good eating days and bad eating days, because sometimes he was unable to eat because of the esophageal cancer. It was right at the base of the esophagus and the stomach. And so that was our days, was for me to try to make sure that he could eat something, and cooking meals so that he could eat on days when he could not, because it was just an impossible thing at that time. When he did not or could not eat or couldn't eat hardly anything, I did the same as him. I'm not saying that because I'm a martyr, but because I felt like I just couldn't. And I just made whatever it was that he could have, and then I ate that too. It seemed right to me. So Christmas, prior to Christmas, he had a stomach tube put in, and then so that he could eat, have some nourishment. And I had a hospital bed put up at home. We were going to do hospice. He had decided to do it. And I had had the hospital bed put in and everything getting ready for him to come home. And then I got a call on Christmas Eve. And then my son had come up from Indiana to see us. And we rushed to the hospital. And he died on Christmas. Jim died on Christmas morning. That day, we went home. The morning that he had passed, my son and I went home, and I was ill. I became so ill. I got hit with the flu, and I was extremely ill. I had to take to bed because I was so sick. The family came in, my kids, and one by one, some of us were hit with this same flu bug. The funeral services didn't come quickly because it was Christmas, and so there was a delay as far as plans. And but everyone we were just sick, very sick. And then this particular day, I think it was a Sunday, some of the kids, because they had rushed to our house and they lived a distance, some of them had to go back home to bring clothes back and things for the kids. And my son went back to Indiana to pick up his son, my grandson, and bring him back. And we were just trying to get through. And at one point there was a freak thaw. It was extremely, extremely cold when Tim passed away, bitter cold. And then there was this freak thaw. And because the contractors didn't have the gutters on yet, water was coming in the basement, and it was not a good situation. So that had to be remedied. My son-in-law became ill with the flu. He had been in bed, and this particular, I think it was Sunday, I felt well enough. I was getting around, moving around. I was going to cook for us. And my son-in-law felt a little better that day. And so he was going to get up and take a shower. And in the meantime, my daughter and my older granddaughter went to get clothing and things like that for them. And his mother called, my son-in-law's mother called. And she was hysterical. You could tell she was in a great deal of distress. And I called him to the phone, and she had found his older brother deceased. She had just found him. And his older brother, who was barely in his 40s, had passed. And their mother found him. And it was unbelievably tragic. We had just lost him, and then Dave was gone suddenly. It was a shock. And it was beyond description, really. And then he had to go to, his brother actually lived in Iowa, where I live now. So my older son, excuse me, went with my son-in-law was going to come here to his brother's home and where his mother was. And of course, it was not good. And my older son took him there because I said, you're not taking yourself there, that Bobby will go with you, which he did. And they went. And so there was that. And it seemed like we were in a daze, kind of in a haze at that time. And just taking one day at a time. And then there was the grandchildren to consider. And my youngest daughter lived in Des Moines, and she was coming to Illinois because of all these things that were taking place. And people were coming and going, and we were trying to get everything together. Well, we get through all of that, and it was very tragic for us. It was stressful, to say the least. And my son-in-law's mother, actually, her funeral was just this past Tuesday. She passed just before her older son's birthday. And her funeral was this last Tuesday. Rest in peace, Joan. And so at that time, we were just trying to get through one day at a time, because that's all we could do, and make the decisions that had to be made. And so it was, the months ahead were trying, and we were trying to just doing the best that we could do. Because then we had Tim's funeral, and then we had Dave's funeral, and it's like you're walking in a kind of this bubble, and the world goes on around you, and you just are not a part of that world anymore. Do you understand what I mean? So we were trying to be, being supportive of one another, and so we went along, and we were doing our best. And then 8 months later, the new year came and went. 8 months later, in October of 2009, my oldest daughter and my son-in-law and their two young daughters were little daughters were on their way to my house, and they were late. And I thought, that's unusual. They're not late. They were going to come for the weekend. And I got a call from the hospital. They had been hit by a drunk driver head on. And he was in a truck, and they were in a truck, and their truck was hit and rolled into a field until it was stopped by a tree upside down. And my son-in-law swerved to try to miss the drunk driver, and he took the brunt of the impact, and ended up, he had to be airlifted to save his life. And so that was shocking. It was horrendous for our family. It was horrendous for their family. And my daughter and two granddaughters, the youngest one had a broken arm, but it was the trauma of that. And the ramifications from that accident still continue today, from that tragic accident. So, and then after that, there was the arrest and trial for the person who did this, and it was just so much. And many other things took place during this time. But I tell you that because I feel like sometimes between September of every year and just past the new year, I feel like sometimes I have PTSD, and I don't say that in a lighthearted way. And I certainly would not compare myself to those in the military who have that ever. But it's like, because In September, there was a diagnosis. In October of each year, the 9th is Tim's birthday. And then there's the last Thanksgiving we had together, when he was actually able to eat a good Thanksgiving meal. And he was so grateful that he was able to actually participate and eat all the trimmings for Thanksgiving. And there's that. And then there was the Christmas that wasn't really, because of the stroke and the cancer, and then losing Dave, and it was just, and then the new year and the winter, the cold. It was so cold in the winter time, and it seemed like the world was just a dark place, and trying to pick up and go on. And we all were in a daze for such a long time. And then the tragic accident in October of 2009. It hadn't even been a year. It was only 8 months. And then the year that followed that was terrible, and all of the surgeries that my son-in-law had to have, and just to be able to function. And it just seemed that it just seemed like we were in this daze and walking in a haze. And so consequently, I struggle, Melody, I struggle with these same things. I feel bad. I feel depressed sometimes. I feel like, you know, like I am walking that path again sometimes. And I try really hard to pick myself up and to be cheerful, because the alternative is just not very good. And I try to change my thinking so that life is to be celebrated and not a dread. And I know, and especially now with things the way they are now, it's more and more difficult, I think. And everybody is in a different situation. Every person has their own struggles in life. I do. I have struggles, and you do too. Everybody does. And just because we don't know about them, or just because on the outside it seems like they've got it all, they've got it made. Every single person, no matter your socioeconomical status, no matter what it is, it doesn't matter. Everybody has struggles. They struggle with something. I always say some people are hanging on by a string, so don't be the one to break it. Be kind. Try to be nice. Be kind. And have a kind word. So what do I do? How do I try to overcome this? This is what I do. I am a firm believer in gratitude, in being grateful, and doing my best to live in a state of thankfulness. And sometimes in the morning, especially before I get up in the morning, and I'm kind of a poor sleeper, but before I get up in the morning, I think I lay in bed and I try to think about what I am thankful for. And I tell the Lord what I'm thankful for. I thank the Lord. And I just thank the Lord because I have a bed to sleep in, because I have a warm place to be. I thank the Lord that I have a roof over my head and that He gives me the ability to maintain my home, and He's given me a place to live. I thank the Lord for my critters, even though sometimes they are a sore trial and a lot of work, because you got to clean up after them. I thank the Lord for my critters because they keep me, because they love me unconditionally, and because they keep me directed that these are critters I must take care of, and I must do my best to take care of them so that they live as good a life as I can give them. So I'm thankful for them, and because they teach me patience. Well, they do. So I'm thankful for that. I thank the Lord in the morning. I try to thank the Lord for my family, for the safety of my family, for the health of my family. I thank the Lord that He's given me another day. And I say, Lord, I don't know what is in this ahead in this day, but you know what is in this day. And give me the grace and the wisdom, because I need wisdom. Give me the grace and wisdom to do what must be done in this day. And I try to tell the Lord, I want to honor you today with my life, Lord. And teach me humility, to be a humble person. And then I tell the Lord I love Him. I'm thankful and I love Him, and I'm thankful for all that He has done for me. And then I feel that I can get up and motivate myself and get things done that need to be done. And throughout the day, I ask the Lord for advice. Now, I know sometimes we think, well, we should only pray about the big things, which that's good, but I pray about the little things, and I find myself asking Jesus about every little thing. You know how little kids do? When your kids are little, or if you have, been around little children, they're always asking the questions, and they want to know things, or can we do this? Can we do that? Can I have this? Can I have that? Why is the moon that way? Or why is that? But we're God's children, and our Heavenly Father loves us, and He likes it when we ask, when we go to Him and say, why is this? Or I need this, or could you see your way clear to let me have this? And also we can ask the questions. We can, and I do. When I go to the grocery store to do my weekly shopping, I always ask the Lord, on the way to the store, I always ask the Lord, give me wisdom. Teach me to be wise in the use of the money that you have given me, that I will be able to purchase what needs to be purchased. Give me wisdom in this and in dealing with people. Because all wisdom comes from Him, and my whole attitude changes then when I do that. So that helps to keep me cheerful. And another thing is, put it in your mind that today you're going to look for something to be cheerful about. When I did my Aldi shop, I looked down and I found a quarter, and it was like, what? A quarter! And I was excited. I found a quarter because I counted my change. I had $1.75 worth of quarters in my purse, and now I had $2 worth of quarters. I mean, that's just like the greatest thing ever. And find something to be cheerful about. And sometimes, I know it's difficult, but sometimes you have to put up a barrier, you have to put up that wall, and you cannot don't allow the naysayers, the gloom and doom, don't allow it in. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't be realistic. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes when you allow all the gloom and doom in, then it gives the fear something to feed on. And you don't want to do that, because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of a sound mind, okay? And all of this chaos going on around us at times, that's not of God. God does everything decently and in order, and all that chaos, I'm just going to say it, the devil is the author of chaos. If it's chaotic, if it's a mess, if things are chaotic and crazy, that's not our Father in heaven. That is not our Savior. That's the evil one just trying to upset our lives. So just sometimes you just have to say, okay, Lord, I often say this, Lord, if you want me to know about it, you'll let me know. Now, I'm not being Pollyanna-ish or, putting on my rose-colored glasses. I'm just, if the Lord wants me to know if it's important to my life, he will let me know. He'll also let me know if there's something I need to do. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Okay. I was thinking this morning, there's this hymn. It was written by Bill and Gloria Gaither. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They are actually from Alexandria, Indiana, and I spent my early years in there, and I lived there, and went to the country school and everything until I was 12 years old. And so they are from that is their hometown. But in the 70s, they wrote a beautiful song or hymn, and it's called Because He Lives. And I was thinking of that this morning, and I think it sums up that little song. It sums up how I feel and how I try to live in this last part of my life. And I've always said, I have failed the Lord many times, but he has never, ever failed me. Never. So in this song, the hymn, in the refrain, the chorus goes like this. I hope I can do it justice, but I'll try my best. And it goes like this. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds the future, and life is worth the living just because he lives. Amen. All right, that's it for me today. I love you guys. You know I do. As always, you know that little is much when God is in it. Okay, all right. I'll meet you in the comments. And thanks for being with me. Thank you so much. And thank you, Melody. I hope this helps. Okay, love ya. I'll talk to you later. Bye.